Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Radhika and today is another interview with the amazing Raj Chohan, who is part of and founder of Golden Key, which is a mortgage advisor and mortgage brokerage company. So if you need anything finance related, please go and send her a message. Keep it short like she says in the video. But a little bit about Raj is that she's been investing in 2005, I don't even know how to explain this experience, but you can hear it in the interview because she goes into a bit of more detail about it, but it's definitely one that you're going to want to learn from and put your own twist onto it as well. So Raj has been known in the finance world as well as investing in different types of properties and has so many amazing opportunities. She was even awarded a silver award in the Best Business Awards last year, which is amazing, and do you know what, she's such an amazing woman and I can't wait for you to hear this interview. So let's get straight in. Hi Raj, lovely to have you on, and it's been a long time coming, but I'm super excited for everyone to hear your story and all of the great tips that you have. So, hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me as well. I'm really excited.
How have you been today?
Yeah, fantastic. Been quite busy. Had lots of appointments booked in, and then we've had a lot of walk-in clients. But I was like, I'm going to take this time out for Radhika today, so I've been really excited. So hoping there are phones behind me, but I'm hoping they won't ring. And if they do, they'll be answered quickly.
Well, that leads me straight on to, and we're just going to jump straight in.
Yeah.
I guess just to start off with, who are you, and what is your background, and what is it that you do for anyone that doesn't know you?
Okay, so I'm Raj Chohan. I'm in Leamington Spa. So I'm 41. No, I'm not 41. I'm 40. Sorry, I'm thinking already ahead. So I'm 40. Married, 2 children. I'm a mortgage broker, and I'm in property, and that's how we both met.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we did meet through property, and it's great to see other women in property. Honestly, such an inspiration. How did you get started? I know you do a million and one things, family, mortgage, you do property yourself, you're very active like in going in and seeing your son in rugby and everything else you do. How did you get started?
Okay, so bought my first property when I was 24, and it's the sign of if you want to get it wrong, this is how to get it wrong. Copy what everybody else is doing without actually knowing what you're doing. So I bought my first property when I was 24, and it was the worst investment I've ever bought in my entire life. So that was the biggest learn. Don't just do it because other people are doing. Go and do your homework. So we parked that, and then we came back into it. So that was in 2005, and then we started buying property again in about 2012. So there's a big gap in between. And that's when we learned how to do it. So my husband went into lettings in 2012, and then obviously trying to work out what are these landlords doing, how have they done it, and that's when we started researching and understood actually how this game worked. And it's in 2012 we started doing property properly.
Wow, I didn't even know that you bought your first property at 24, but I want to jump straight into that because not a lot of people talk about bad investments, right? And it's super important that you're not just, Instagram's so easy to just be like, wow, this property looks amazing, but no one really sees the behind scenes. Can we, if you don't mind, just jump into that a little bit?
Go into detail, yeah. Okay, so why it was bad. Okay, so first of all, we didn't know the area. So being in Leamington Spa, the prices are really expensive here in comparison to Tipton, where somebody advises to buy a property. So if you're buying a like-for-like house, here the same house would have cost you about 200 grand at the time. And at the time they were selling us for 125, and they were like, put 5 grand cash down, we'll put it through the books at 120. You don't have to pay any stamp duty. You get 100% mortgages, and everything was sold, and it was fantastic. And you know what? I'm not going to knock them. I didn't do my homework. So walked away thinking this is fantastic. You'll get tenants in straight away. My mortgage payment was £600 a month. Our rent after paying our agent was £450. So we're already making a loss. We then realised that we bought the property for 125, and everybody else had bought their houses for 70 grand. So nobody even did a valuation. So it was completely, so can't blame anyone but ourselves, but it was the worst investment. So then we got to a point of, okay, we'll just keep it. Let's try and get that mortgage down. So we started paying into it because obviously it was costing us money. So, but we didn't have much to play with. Then we tried to put the rent up, but even that was only just barely touching the interest-only mortgage. So we were sitting at a loss for a long time. But then I remember Raj and I discussed, and we thought, well, okay, we can get rid of it, and then we soak up a loss of 30 grand, which is harder. So we thought, over time, this will grow in value eventually. And then as it was peaking to the point where it was hitting 125,000, the actual price that we bought it for, which was about 10 years later, 10, 12 years later, we lost our tenant. Well, no, our tenants weren't paying. So we had to go through the whole process of eviction. That took us about 6 to 9 months to get them out. It was a really long process. Then once they left, they totally trashed the house. So we had to pay more money to get it back into good repair. Then we were like, okay, we burnt our fingers. This property has to go. So then we put it. Then when we decided we were going to sell, COVID hit. So it's just been a complete nightmare. Anyway, so the end of the story, success story. After 16 years, we sold that property for 160 grand and paid off our debts and stuff. So we still, well, I wouldn't even say we made about 40 grand out of it, but we probably lost all of that in all the interest and costs that we endured for the last 16 years. But yeah, so definitely, but that's, so if you want to know how to get it wrong, that's how to get it wrong.
I can't even think of anything that could even make that situation even worse than what it was, because everything came into that.
It was, and the worst thing was, it was a new build that we bought as well. I bought a new build, and we still ended up spending so much into it. But I like to share that story because these are the reasons why you need to know what you're doing, why you're doing it, how to do it, speak to the right people. Just because it looks good on paper, go and do your comparables.
Yeah, I mean, that's enough to put anyone off, to be honest. I don't know how you're still in property.
But you learn, you have to, and that's the whole journey of property. You've got to make your mistakes to get it right. And if you're thinking, and those, well, I think it's some of the conversations you and I have been party to in our groups as well that we're in, is there's a lot of people that say it's not a right time to buy, it's not a right time to do this. But the thing is, there's never a right time. You're going to make mistakes and there's going to be things that go wrong, but by not doing it is the worst mistake.
Yeah, exactly. And do you know what? All of those learnings that you've had has only made you become a better investor, a better person, and in the position that you're now. So you took a little bit of a gap between, was it 2005 to 2012? What did you do in that time? And then how did you kind of convince yourself that, you know, we want to get into property again? What is that transition that was? Sorry, there's like a load of questions in that.
Yeah. So basically in that, when we did that, we realised that it wasn't working, but we didn't realise that it could work better, if that makes sense. So we just thought that's the property game. So never really looked into it and just sort of had to suck it up. And then at the same time, there were so many other things. Credit crunch happened. But then that's actually where it helped us, because when interest rates went down, our mortgage payment went from 650 to about 450, which was break even. So then we were sort of able to ignore that property and just say, okay, we'll just park that, deal with that later. And then we were trying to sort out our career, so many dips and ups and downs we had. We had 2 little babies, and then we lost our jobs, got the credit crunch, we had to restart. So I think when we started in 2012, that's when Yuvraj and I restarted everything again. That's when we thought, okay, if Yuvraj is going into lettings, and then Yuvraj was starting to understand, okay, this is the game. But the way his landlords that he took on at that time were the old school landlords that had bought properties for 15 grand that were now worth like 200 grand. Oh, wow. So we had these were a different caliber of people. And we were trying to understand, how do we do it now in the 21st century and managing debt? Because obviously, as all parents say, don't take debt. Debt's really bad. So that's when we re-educated ourselves to learn what's good credit and bad credit. Good debt, bad debt. And then I think Yuvraj and I working together, and then obviously building up our confidence again. What's the right thing to do? Do we do it? And then we started doing it, and then we're like, oh, this is really working. Told our parents, told our siblings. They were a bit uncomfortable, but then they jumped on board. And then so both sets of our parents are quite comfortable now because they've been able to invest in property as well.
Amazing. And that's the thing, is once you start doing the things, then people will start to come on board, especially with that family support as well. It's so key. And Absolutely. I've definitely found that you just have to get over that first little hurdle. It's completely new to them, and just trying to get through it, and then you know that they're going to support you once you can just be like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. But so amazing to hear. So how did Golden Key come about then? I know you mentioned bits of the lesson side and the finance side. How did that come around, and how long have you been doing it for?
Okay, so Golden Key came when you've already started letting. So at that time, we both started afresh. We were both mortgage advisors. Credit crunch happened, so we decided, okay, we both shot ourselves in the foot. We've got 2 little babies. We're never going to do the same work again. So at the time, there was a franchise, maths and English franchise. So I thought, well, I'm quite good at maths, so I'll go and try that. That worked out quite well. Started that. Yuvraj at the same time started lettings. And then it was like the kind of brainstorm. Yuvraj was like, let's just get started. I was like, no, you need a company name. You need a company name. So what do we have? And then we had loads of different ones, Chohan Estates, and name them after the kids. I was like, no, let's go with something that if one day it becomes big, it can globalize. We don't want our name attached to it. So then we had loads of different names, but a big inspiration for us, even still now, but definitely then when we were like young, was one of Yuvraj's cousins and brother-in-law. And he's got an international company now called Silver Door. And just because I was so immensely mesmerized by them, I was like, I need something off the back of that. So they were Silver Door, so we went Golden Key. And we threw it, at the time we didn't have WhatsApp or anything. So I remember sending an email to my family and saying, these are the 5 names we've got, which one stands out? And they were like, yeah, Golden Key sounds quite cool. And we just went with it. And then we just got a branding guy. Can you just give us a headed paper with something that says Golden Key? And we had some old branding. And yeah, that's where Golden Key started from.
Amazing. And, you know, finance and mortgages are key to property, right? Like, absolutely key to property.
Huge.
Yes, you can cash buy, but eventually you're going to have a mortgage, or people don't have access to finance.
Well, you wait till you're 60 to be able to cash buy.
Yeah, I've saved like 50 years for a deposit. I started when I was in the room, but I guess, how is it that you help people? What is it that you're kind of most known for within kind of the mortgage space?
I think for me, when people come to me, people think they're coming to get the best rate and they're going to get the best deal. And you'll get the best rate I believe you'll get. But it's about finding the best deal. Yeah. And the best deal, when you get the best deal comes in the form of advice and experience as well. Mm-hmm. I've been there. We've worn the t-shirt for a lot of things. So we've got so many things wrong. But I'm going to take the word back. We haven't done things wrong. We've had successes and we've had big learns. So the learns that we wear, like with experience, we like to share with our clients. So when they come for me as well, it's, this is what I'm looking to do. This is what I need. Can you help me? And I'll say, okay, I understand where you want to go, but why are you taking this road? Because this is how I think it should be. Actually, I don't think it's the right way to do it. Do it like this, and these are the reasons why. And then I can take them down a different route where they can create passive income better. The other thing is as well, there's no right or wrong. So I know you're the HMO queen, and I'm at the other spectrum. I'm not a big fan of HMOs. Yeah. But again, that doesn't mean you're right and I'm wrong, or vice versa. It's just, I'm not a yield chaser. But if you took me back to when I was 24, 25 and I understood what I was doing, I probably would have chased the yields, but now I don't. So again, it's about educating our clients as to understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it. Once you understand that will put you on the right path of the kind of properties you should be investing in, where you should be investing, how much you should be investing, and what your long-term and short-term goals should be from them.
I absolutely love this, and I want to jump into this a little bit more details, and I'm going to dive out the conversation a little bit, but I wanted to go into a quick fire round, which is going to be new. So I'm just going to aim 5 questions that you just got to pick whatever comes at the top of your head. So beach holiday or city break?
Beach holiday, always.
Wine or tea in the evening?
Tea.
Yeah. Are you sure?
Yeah, I do like a glass of wine, but I think ultimately tea is the best wine, Dan.
Yeah, tea definitely. Home cooked meal or eating out on the weekends?
Eating out always. Guilty, very guilty.
Would you rather live in a fixer-upper or a new build?
Oh, I'd probably say new build.
I'm the same.
New build. I've been there, and I really, if somebody can do it for me, I'm more than happy to go into something ready-made.
I don't want to live in like dust everywhere. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Definitely night person. No, I'm not a night out person, but I'm definitely night owl. Definitely not a morning person. I don't really. I wake up. I get out of bed for about 7:30 at push, but I don't really wake up till about 11.
Oh really? Oh wow. Okay, good time now we booked this in.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So going back to finance and educating people, because I see this a lot as well when people on Instagram, all they're doing is chasing the best rate, but that's not the process. And I think I'm quite fortunate to go into the mortgage side of things and more as a consultative approach. And I didn't realise this is part of it. So I guess, is there any tips or anything that you can give to anyone who is just trying to chase the best rate rather than focusing on the long-term goal, because that is ultimately going to change everything that you do, whether you take a hit on one thing or another?
Okay, so like let's go on rate. People that chase rates, usually they're like, well, I want to go with that lender because I can get this rate and I'm happy to put X amount in. But what they've done is, to secure a really low rate, they've blocked up loads of money. So actually what they've done is restricted their avenue of having more revenue coming in. So they've blocked the money in. You've got to get the balance, and you've got to look at which lender's going to totally dissect your case. And ultimately, when you get a market leading rate, you've got to be market leading in everything else. They call it the vanilla cases. The vanilla cases, you've high salary, no bad debts in the background, you've got low expenses, everything is very low risk. But who lives in that world? And if you're living in that world, you're probably not getting the best out of it. You really need to be leveraging. If you've got high income, utilize that to get you big loans. If you've got a lot of income coming in, get that saved up and block it into a property. That's my personal advice. I'm not saying there's other ways of making money, but I am into property, so I believe in property all day long. There are pitfalls. Government keeps putting their interventions in, stamp duty, taxation, but you've got to work around it. If you look at the big investors out there, big companies, all their money is in assets. Even Raj and I bought recently. We bought 2 properties, and their companies hold big assets. There's a reason why they're holding it, because long term they will hold the money. Sorry, I've just gone off the interest, but basically you've got to look at the bigger picture, not the interest. Interest rates are so low. When people start fussing over 0.25%, I can't get my head around it, because when I got my first mortgage, I think it was about 8.5%. This is peanuts. 2.5. Like, I don't like that deal, because it's 0.25%. It went up 0.25%. It's probably a difference of £7. Yeah, you know what? For the sake of wasting time, you've now lost your property. Where you've now going to have to pay an extra 20 grand because you're waiting for this next rate to come. You've got to look at the bigger picture, and really rates will fluctuate. What you're looking at is your long-term bigger picture.
That's so interesting that you said it's the difference of like £7, because it's true. Like the difference between 0.1% or 0. Whatever percent, in reality, is not actually a big deal. But you know, your exit fees or anything else, if something goes wrong. Absolutely, you've got
to weigh everything up.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like other
your arrangement fee, are you getting a free valuation? Are they giving you cash back? You know, you've got to weigh them all up. Don't just chase after the rate.
Exactly. And yeah, for the difference of what most people are buying at, especially kind of like Midlands and up north, it's pennies compared to what they're doing.
It is. It does work out to be pennies in the end, but it's what you focus on. And I always say as well, whatever you focus on, you'll become a master at. So if you're a master at saving money, you'll always be an expert at saving money, and well done. But that doesn't mean you'll grow. If you focus on growing your wealth will grow. Okay, you'll lose a bit of money because you've not been savvy enough in finding the cheapest electrician or the cheapest plumber. Okay, but you know what? Taking the small hit of £40 here and £50 there. Look at the big stuff. Look at the properties that you're buying for 300 grand, 400 grand, 500 grand. Are you finding good deals there? If you put your energy in that, you'll probably save 50 grand there rather than 50 quid on the plumber.
I love that.
Yeah, put your energy into the right stuff.
I love that. I never even thought about that, you know, focusing on how to save 50 grand or make 50 grand compared to £50. It's so not relevant to your life.
The energy and time is the same. So it's weighing up. If you've got the time to be savvy and find a cheap plumber, do that. But if you're at the same time trying to find a property investment, I'd put the energy into the property investment.
Amazing. And one thing that you said about companies holding assets, you know, we've seen John Lewis and I think Boots who have announced their property. I can't even remember the facts off the top of my head. I did know a few months ago, but them holding, that's case in point example of companies, big companies, corporations going into the property sector. It's massive at the moment, and holding assets is going to be massive, whatever way, shape or form that is going to be. But going back right to the start, why did you start in property?
I think it just fitted with the work. So Raj and I were mortgage advisors first. Obviously, the recession kicked. We knocked us out. Obviously, we had the bad experience, which was in the end became a fantastic experience. So I went again, another learn. I wouldn't say it is bad. Well, it was a bad experience, but it was a learning journey. And you need to have them because then you can put everything in perspective and balance as well. And you know what? We've never held on to it and been like, oh, it's the worst thing we've ever done. No, it's part and parcel of the game. You win some, you lose some. Sorry, what was your question?
Buy property in the start.
Okay, what did we start? And then when Raj went into lettings, and then it all sort of pieced together because we understood the finance. Now we're looking at Raj is now managing these landlords' properties, and I think that's when we started thinking, okay, how does this work? Then we started investing in property at that point, like again. At the time, quite cheap, 65. But no, 65 wasn't. We never got a 65 one. Probably the cheapest one was 90, about 90 grand, and then up to about 120, and then built a little pot of those. And then we invested in slightly more expensive. But then we understood the game, and then we were experiencing the pitfalls. Like back then, didn't even need to batter an eyelid. 25% down, mortgage was done. Now, obviously, it's based on rental calculations. A lot more to it. A lot of more money laundering checks, a lot more income proof, but it wasn't then. But again, you just adapt to the changes. It shouldn't be there to put you off. You just adapt to it. You don't see all these billionaires selling up property just because taxation rules have changed.
Yeah.
The properties.
Amazing.
Because you've got to make it work for you.
The other thing I've just even realised is you see so many applications a day. That's only going to help you realise, okay, what's working, what's not working. You must get so much insight for free just because you're doing this in a day-to-day basis.
I think I do, but I think a lot of property investors think they're very different, but they're all very similar.
All the same. It's replicating.
It's all the same. It's the same. Everyone's doing the same system.
Yeah.
I find generally a lot of my clients, I'd probably say my landlords generally, the ones who I do mortgages for, are no more than 10 buy-to-lets. But what I would say is, if being in property myself, Raj always tells me off for this, but I like to make it fun. I don't want to just do something just because I know how it works and it makes money. You can't just chase money in property. You've got to enjoy the process. So I would say switch it up, change your portfolio, do a bit of service accommodation, try it. May burn your fingers, may not. Do a bit of commercial, do a bit of semi-commercial, do a bit of property development, do a complete new build, do a little light refurbishment, do a HMO, change it up because it will keep it fun. You just don't want it to be that thing that you just keep saving a deposit, banging it down on a house, get your tenants, and the rent starts coming in. You're still having the rent hasn't come in. You don't want to have the same conversations. I think property can get quite boring. But I think the service, the finance bit. Yeah, Raj is lettings and sales in Golden Key. I do the finance, and then we work together on developments, investments, and service accommodation. So yeah,
I love it. And do you know what, you said diversification, so we just bought a buy-to-let and probably looking to buy another buy-to-let, and I'm so glad we made that decision because the energy rates on the HMO, like we're paying like £1,000 on the energy bills at the moment.
Bills going up,
and it's crazy because if we just invested in one specific type of project, we would have been screwed. So that diversification of doing SA or development, it's massive because it's only going to help you in the future. But what's next for you and you, Raj, in terms of property? What are you buying next? I know you've got a few things in the pipeline, which I don't know if you can talk about.
I don't know. I think with us, we don't really have a plan. I know we've got an overall direction. We want to just be excited by property. I don't think I can say I want to buy that property and I want to have that many properties. I actually am not a volume. I'd rather have quality properties. I'd wait a little bit longer and buy something a little bit more. So if I can build up a bigger deposit, I'd use that as a small deposit and a big property. So whereas some people would probably say if you've got 300 grand cash, some people would buy a property for 300 grand or 150 and get 2 properties. I would use the lowest deposit I can get away with to buy the biggest thing. So if I can buy me something for $1 million, I'll go for that and get the highest loan, because once you've secured a property, you'll find a way to pay that down and get that moving. And then in 10, 15 years, it will pay itself down if you're smart with it. You have to be smart and you've got to do your work on it, but don't do so much work that it puts you off. I would say. Don't do, So I would say work junkie. So we work on a 70-30 rule. If we can make it work on paper by about 70%, the 30% will work itself out. We don't worry too much about that.
I love that as well. There's so many nuggets that I've learned as well on this call, but I'm just conscious of time here. So you've been through so many different challenges. You've had great experience in this market as well through various things that you're doing. What tips would you give to anyone that's starting out? Maybe like your top 3 tips? Put you on the spot there.
Top 3 tips. I'd probably say understand what you're going into first of all, and you need support and you need advice, but don't expect people to just give you information. You've got to do homework. Just speaking about you in the office, and I said I love Radhika for the fact that people just constantly message her and then she has to put it over and over again. I've got a full-time job, I'm property investment, I'm sharing my journey. I'm not here to teach you from the scratch what you need to do. You need to go and learn yourself. But there's so many more resources out now. There's YouTube videos, books, there's so much that you can learn from. And when you want to tweak a bit of information, fire 3 questions at somebody, but don't expect somebody to give up an hour of their time to re-educate you. I think that's it. I think people need to take ownership. Secondly, don't think it's an easy game. It's not easy. It's something that's going to make you money. You go to work, you have to go to work to earn your money. It's the same with property. Don't think you put your money in and that's it, you forget about it, because as we're working letting agents as well, and I watch videos and they're like, property's awful, boilers break. That's part and parcel of being a landlord. That's what happens. Sometimes your tenants don't pay, and sometimes a boiler breaks down, sometimes somebody's fence comes down, sometimes somebody breaks their key in their door and they want a spare key. These things happen. So be realistic with property. I'd probably say that one. And also strike while the iron's hot. Don't wait. The market's we're never gonna have a dip where our market's after our credit crunch, where the lenders were throwing out money, everything's become very savvy and tight. Well, we had conversation in our group, people were like, COVID's happened, all the properties are going to crash. Nothing crashed. Properties actually went up in value, and they still are. Nothing's crashed. So I would say, don't wait. Just buy. That's
amazing. I love that. I think there should be 3 different rules that you should be putting up. I honestly am. I just think now that's probably the safest place for money to be. It gives you passive income and it grows in value. There's a huge shortage in properties in the UK. So while there's a huge demand for property and the supply small, you should be buying. If it was the other way around, then maybe I'd start saying you need to sort of sell now because the demand and supply balance has changed. Yeah, exactly. I love that as well, and everything that you've been saying on this call. So to wrap up the call, I'm just going to throw two random questions at you because I always think it's like always good to hear. If you could do any one thing on your bucket list tomorrow, what would it be?
Oh, bucket list tomorrow. I want to go skiing.
Really?
Skiing. I haven't been, but I don't want to have to learn. So if I could just wave a magic wand and just be experienced, I'd love to go skiing. That's probably, I'd probably say skiing.
Even
though I love the beach.
If you
I don't like going sightseeing. My family always says, "Oh, do you like sightseeing?" And I was like, "No, I'm quite happy to, look at all these iconic buildings on the internet and just Google the images. I don't need to be there and see it in person."
Oh wow, I love that. And finally, what is your inspiration and why? It's probably a bit of a broad question, but.
You know what? I get inspired by people that work hard. I won't say any. There are a few individuals, but I'd probably say generally, I'm inspired by people that work hard and that are really happy and energized by life. It's not about how much wealth or what they've achieved or their age or anything. I think it is around people's energy. I like people that are just. They don't feel life owes them anything. They know that this is one chance and we just need to grab it.
Yeah.
So I would say anybody and everybody inspires me to some degree.
I love it. You're such a positive person. I love it. You put my energy up right now. So, yeah. But thank you so much for being on this. It was such an inspiration. And I know anyone watching this is going to have probably 2 pages of A4 paper like of notes and what to do with life in property.
Yeah, well, if not, definitely contact me if you need a mortgage.
So this is where can people find you? And I'll put your links below as well, and I'll put it on Instagram as well. But where can people find you? Okay,
so find me on Instagram on goldenkey_UK. I manage that account and I manage my mortgage broker one. So it's Raj_mortgage broker. If you've got any questions, keep it very specific and you'll get an answer quickly from me. Don't keep them vague because sometimes it will take me longer. If I can bullet point and throw answers at you, I can do it quite quickly. And obviously, if you're ready to buy or remortgage, come to me and I'll help you.
I was about to say, if you ever need any mortgage or refinance or bridging or whatever it is, Raj is your person to go to. But thank you so much, and
thank you.
Catch you soon and probably do a part 2 at some point.